look at linear equations. And so we're going to start with some of the easy stuff. So I will move this over. We're going to start with just slope and slope-intercept today. We might get a little bit in, well, we might touch some of the other ones, but this is kind of the easier day. Tomorrow we'll look at the ones that take a little bit longer. Also, okay, I think we're good. So the first two problems are finding slope. That's it, finding slope. So if we remember, and looking at the poster there, slope is rise over run, right? So we're just locating what are the 2 points on this, counting how many spaces am I going up, how many spaces am I going over. Let's say that line was going down. Instead of rising, it would be kind of falling. How many am I going down over, how many am I going over? All right, and then slope for that next problem, we also have the formula for it, right? Where we can label our x's and our y's, plug it into that formula. So this poster will also be up for the final exam. I'll have all the posters around the room like how I did last semester. So let's find the slope of this. Here are my 2 points. So this one is going down, right? I'm going to go down 2 spaces to get down to that next point. So we can say -2 because we're going down. So the positive or the negative is talking about which direction you're starting, going up or going down to get to that next point. And then I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So -2/5 would be my slope. Remember, slope is just a number, and it could be a fraction. All right, so then let's look at the next one. If I have 2 points versus that picture, that's where we'll want to label our ordered pairs like how we have on the poster. This first ordered pair is my x1, y1, because it's my first ordered pair. Then my second ordered pair would be x2, y2. And now it's just a matter of plugging it into the formula. And I know from those of you that are coming from Mrs. Heller, you did the stacking method, that's fine. If that's been working for you, do that. I just used the formula. So my formula in orange on the poster is y2, and I guess I'll write it on the paper here. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my x2 is -9 minus my y1 is -20. So notice that I put a negative because of the formula, but I also put that negative there because of the -20 in my problem. So that really becomes +20 over x2 is 13 minus x1 is also 13. So I have -9 plus 20, which is really 20 minus 9, so that's 11 over 13 minus 13 is 0. And I like this one because it's one of those 0 rules. So do we remember, can we divide by 0? No, we cannot. And if you look at the invisible math kind of above the lamp, the darker pink one, what would we say that is equal to? Something divided by 0 is what? Undefined. So we cannot divide by 0. You can have 0 on the top, you just can't have 0 on the bottom. And so that would be undefined, meaning if we're kind of putting all the pieces together here, remember that undefined slope is your vertical up and down line. That's written like x equals. Okay, so that would be a line that's just going straight up and down. I imagine that, right? Because we can't walk up that line. That would be impossible. You can't walk up a wall, but you can walk across something that has 0 slope. Okay, so that's a quick review on our slope. Now we're going to start writing slope-intercept form of lots of different types of examples. So let's go ahead and look at this first one. I want to write the slope-intercept form of this equation. So that is the third thing on your flip book, but I also have it up here on the poster. So that poster will also stay up here. So that's y equals mx plus b. So if you're given the instructions, right, in slope-intercept form, it's got to look like y equals, okay? And so remember, m is my slope, okay? B is the y-intercept. And so I have 2 arrows kind of pointing with what those are. Y-intercept is B, slope is your M. And so now it's just a matter of finding these things from that graph, plugging it into the formula. So if I want to find the slope of this line, we've already done that, we can locate 2 points. We'll actually have to do that this time. So I would say that this is a really good point. And then if I follow it down, I would say this is also a point, right? Because all the rest of these, they're just kind of in the middle. We're looking for those 4 corner points, or a lattice point is technically what we're looking for. So then we can count. I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I could say that my slope, or my m, is -4 over, I'm running 1, 2, 3 spaces. So there's my slope. Now I can find the b value. My b value again is that y-intercept. So where are we crossing the y-axis with this line? Remember, the y-axis is good, 4. So that blue line crosses the y-axis at 4. Now we put it all together. So my answer is y equals negative 4/3 x plus 4. Okay, so that's it. We know how to find the slope. We know how to identify y-intercept. You just plug it into the formula, and we're done. Okay, so let's try that one more time. We're going to write the slope-intercept form. So again, we're looking for y equals mx plus b. And so I'm going to write off to the side. I know I need to find the slope. I need to find the y-intercept. So let's go ahead and do that. So my slope, again, is just going to be finding 2 points that are those corner points. So honestly, there's a whole bunch here. Because kind of look at what that slope is. My slope is 1/1. I'm rising 1 and I'm running 1. So I'd have a slope of 1 there. So there's lots of different points that you could have chosen from. So 1/1, which is just 1. And then my b value, that y-intercept, where does it cross this y-axis here? Good, at -3. Okay, so then I just put that together. So y equals 1x, or you can just write x. Right, we want to get in the habit of invisible 1 rule in front of your variable. We don't have to write that. And then -3, because we were at -3 there. Okay, so a lot of these are pretty easy. It's just kind of refreshing our memory on what are the equations, how do we use them. Okay, now we're going to do still writing slope-intercept form, but versus a picture, we're given an equation that is not in slope-intercept form. And so both of these are in standard form right now. Okay, so we also want to be able to identify that these are in standard form. How do I know that? It's because my x and my y's are on the same side. So if you look at the poster down here, standard form, ax plus by equals c. So I have an x and then a y equal to the regular number by itself. So I'm trying to make it look like y equals. So we did a lot of this at the beginning of the semester. So hopefully whenever I do this, it starts to come back. So if we're wanting to solve for y in this equation, what was the term that we always moved away first? The x, yeah, with the 9. So in this, we're taking both the 9 and the x, right? So I want to subtract that entire term and move it to the other side. I'm taking both things. So we're going to subtract 9x to start moving that to the other side, right? It's y equals mx plus b. So then my 9's cancel. I can bring down the -5y equals, and then we also wrote that 9x first, right? That -9x, because we know it's y equals mx plus b. So we can flip-flop the order as long as we're keeping the signs the same, right? So we would always write that x term next, and that's a positive 40, which is why I put a plus in between them. Okay, and now we're really, really close. We just have that -5 in front of the y. How did we get rid of that -5? Good. We're going to divide because that's -5 times. So we just want to divide by -5 now. And so then my 5's cancel. I'm left with y equals. And this is where we went through each term and did my dividing. 9/5. That cannot be reduced anymore, right? But I have 2 negatives. So really, what type of 9/5 will this be? Positive. Good. So 9/5. But we can divide 40 divided by -5. That gives me -8. So it's really just 2 steps. Subtract your x, divide by whatever's in front of y, and then simplify. Okay, so now we have it in slope-intercept form, and you could graph this. You could now graph this on a coordinate plane, but we'll do that tomorrow. Okay, so let's try that one more time, practicing that. And I like this one because this was kind of a weird one that a lot of us got confused on. So same process. We want to subtract the x first. So we're going to do -x, -x. So that's going to cancel. So I'm left with 2y equals, and we want to write the -x first, and the 8 is positive, so we're going to write +8. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of flipping the order so that way it's exactly how I want. Now we want to divide by 2. So we subtract, then we divide. And here's where everyone kind of got thrown off when we did this in the unit. So right now, what number is in the numerator with the x? A 1. A lot of people want to put -2x. That's not true. This is -1/2 x. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't say that's -2. Your 2's on the bottom, not on the top. So that's -1/2, and then 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. Okay, so that one was kind of tricky. So hopefully when you see that again, you don't make the same mistake. Okay, So those are your standard forms, converting back to slope-intercept form. And now we want to look at this one. This one is point-slope form. Okay, we know it's point-slope form because we see the parentheses. So point-slope. I want to solve for y, okay? The only thing that's stopping me from having y by itself right now, though, is that parentheses. We never want to have parentheses in slope-intercept form. So remember, we would distribute there. And then if we had a number next to the y, then we would like add or subtract that number to the other side. But there is no number there, so we don't have to do that step. So we get y equals, then a negative 4/5 times x is just negative 4/5 x. And then negative 4/5 times 5, we can kind of write that off to the side, or you can use your calculator. Really, your 5s will cancel, right? If I'm multiplying by 5 and I have a 5 in the denominator, they'll cancel. We're just left with negative 4. So you should see that appearing on all the study guide. You should never end up with two fractions. This fraction times this number here should always end up with being a nice number, okay? If not, then you probably did something wrong. Okay, so that's it. Now I have y equals and no parentheses, so I'm good there. The last one is we now have to put things into point slope form, okay? So again, point slope form is on that poster. It's the last page on your flip book. So this is why the flip book may be helpful, because you want to know all those formulas. So you may want to reprint it if you lost yours. So that is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So that's the equation there. It's just now a matter of plugging everything in. So where did my x1 and my y1 come from? What is that? Maybe look at them. Yeah, the stuff in the parentheses, right? That's my ordered pair. That's my point, which is why it's called point slope form. We're plugging in a point. So this is that first ordered pair, x1, y1. My slope, what letter is slope? M, good. But it is negative 6, perfect. So we have enough information, right? I have the m that I'm going to plug in. I have the x1 and the y1. Everything else stays the same. So we're going to write y minus, my y1 value is 1. So I substitute that in. That's equal to m. We just said m was my slope, which is negative 6. Parentheses, x minus my x1 is negative 1. So again, pointing out that I have a negative in that formula, but I also have a negative from that ordered pair. So you don't want to lose those. Good. So it becomes plus 1 there. All right. But it wants slope-intercept. So now we want to go through that process we just did of distributing. So I have y minus 1 equals negative 6 times x. And negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. And then final step, we want to add 1. Making sure that when we do add 1, we're adding it to the constant. Now the thing with the x, we can only add like terms. So we have y equals negative 6, and then negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So if you need to use a calculator at any point for that to do your multiplication, that's fine. But I'm hoping we can do that in our head at this point. Okay, so that's kind of what today is. Finding slope, or all of your answers should be in slope-intercept form. Like, it was the same instructions, just different ways of seeing that problem, okay? But everything is going to end with y equals mx plus b. That's our goal, unless if it says find slope.